Well, we were in a good mood from the Let Me Explain Studios video about Good Boy Charlie, and now here we are with Nick Crowley's The Darkest Moments in TV History number 4. So, here's the thing.
These videos are always like worse than watching Donnie Darko.
Yeah, in terms
I love Donnie Darko, but it's always puts you in a weird mood for the rest of the day after you watch it again.
Yeah, and that's a real thing. Basically, for me, it's almost like Sin City. It's like I can't watch Sin City without wanting to smoke something. Like that's the thing.
I can't watch anything where people smoke without wanting to smoke.
Exactly. That's the weird thing. It's one of those confirmation bias kind of things that happens.
If we kept reacting to the Cowboy Bebop reaction for me, you know. Oh my god. Initial reaction for like Chad and Andrew.
Yeah.
Like every time I would watch an episode of that, I'd be like, I want to go smoke. So everybody in that show smokes.
Yeah, Jet, Faye, Spike. The only ones that don't smoke are Ed and I.
They make it look really cool when they do it too. It's all yeah.
Well, dude, literally one of the first things that you see in the opening credits is Spike taking a drag off of a cigarette and blowing the smoke out. It's like, it's time to blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam. But, yeah. Darkest moments in TV history. I don't know what's going to happen here. Some of these I may know, some of these I may not, but I guess we'll see.
It's only 4 this time by the looks of it.
Yeah, so are y'all ready?
I think one of those said the balloon priest.
Yeah,
what the hell?
I don't know, and I guess we're going to have to watch and see what that means, but are you ready?
Not really, but I guess we got to do it anyway.
Let's go.
An opening, but Singleton brings it away for Bradford. There's only Ellis with him at the moment, though, and he's played it straight to Redford. Offside flag this time against
no.
Saturday, May 11th, 1985. A soccer match is underway in Bradford, West Yorkshire, England, between the visiting team Lincoln City and the home team Bradford City, a group riding the high of having just won their divisional championship in the week prior. This was the season finale for the club, one last match for the team and the fans to cap off what was otherwise a historic run. However, it wasn't just the season that this game would mark the end of. At the time, Bradford City played their matches at a site called Valley Parade Stadium, with the facilities growing a reputation around the league as being incredibly outdated, and to many, downright neglected. The awnings that stretched over the fans were made of old rotted wood, while underneath the stands were heaps of old trash.
Why am I creeped out before he's even getting to like what the bad thing was that happened?
Well, I know what's going to happen.
I think it's just the liminal space of seeing the empty stands and stuff with nobody else around.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like, I think that's the point of liminal space, like images. Things that were created for like masses of people that are empty.
Yeah, that's a lot of it.
That's just like that big massive city that they built in this one country to be like the new capital. They built apartment buildings, they built a new government building, they built everything. And nobody uses it. They even built like a massive 32-lane highway in and out of the city. Nobody uses it.
That's weird.
It is weird. Yeah. I look at it and I'm like, holy shit.
Why did they do that?
Because they wanted to move the capital. That's the thing, because the old capital was overpopulated, and they wanted to make a new capital that had better infrastructure, more space, more like better apartment buildings and stuff like that, and they spent the money to build them.
Not afford to move there or something?
No, people just refused.
Huh.
That's the thing. It's like, and the government doesn't want to force people to move there, but the thing is, no one wants to move there because everyone's just like, no, we don't want to.
If you're overpopulated, why?
Because they don't care. That's the thing. The grand populace is in a lot of places, dude. They're just used to things the way they are, and they don't want things to change.
But if things suck, why not do something that could make it obviously better?
But that's the thing. Most people don't think that it sucks. But the people who are like in the higher up positions in like government, the government are basically just like, you know, like all these people are like crammed into these like small spaces and everything. But the people are used to it. The people are just like, yeah, we all sleep. Like It's like 6 people in a 300 square foot apartment, but we're all used to it, so whatever.
I'd be like, fuck you guys, I'm moving over to the new capital.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Where nobody has moved there yet, basically there's nothing there. It's a ghost town. And that's the most messed up part.
Be like, yeah, I'll live in the outskirts of the ghost town capital, and I'll just drive back when I need something, you know?
There you go.
For the most part, I'll never have to deal with traffic getting back to my house.
There, yeah, exactly.
Throughout the season, and rarely, if ever, be cleaned. The whole place
I was just going to say,
mess.
I saw a ton of quote-unquote liminal spaces before that was a popular thing online because I worked in a dying mall, so...
Yes, well, that's the thing. Dying malls are a huge liminal space hotspot. That's like this
there
guy...
are pictures of the mall after it completely closed that people are like, this is so haunting and creepy, and I'm like, I worked there when it fucking already looked like that. It was pretty creepy.
Yeah.
Especially at night when you were, like, closing by yourself or something.
Well, Kane Pixel did that series, basically, like, in, like, a liminal space being, you know, like, a mall and everything. You know, with that art piece chasing that guy around.
Yeah.
But my deal with mall liminal spaces, that's why the dude that does like abandoned malls, he actually did the Bristol Mall, like before it got converted.
I saw the video.
Yeah, that was so weird.
When he walks by, I'm in that video actually.
Really?
Yeah, you can see us working at the counter, me and Shane.
Dude.
FYE was still there. We were ringing transactions at the counter when he walked by FYE.
Dude, that's so crazy.
And the city knew it too, which eventually led to their decision to just rebuild the stadium completely, with plans being set to tear the whole thing down soon after the game would end. But as it turns out, fate wasn't willing to wait quite that long. Within the stands, a spectator was watching on, enjoying a cigarette, taking one last drag before flicking it out of his hands, eyes still locked intently on the game, failing to notice that the cigarette butt had slipped through the floorboards of the bleacher and landed on the ground below.
Oh, shit.
This almost immediately caused a small fire to break out, which was noted by the commentator John Helm.
We've actually got a fire in the stand on the far side of the ground.
There it is. You see it.
And that looks very nasty indeed.
Everybody get
Despite
the
the
hell out
cigarette
of there.
only being dropped a minute or so before, the fire was already visible from the stands, as within that old stadium was the perfect makings of a disaster.
Yeah, all that trash.
When that cigarette fell to the ground, it didn't just land on the grass, because the grass was likely not even visible at that point, and was buried under mounds and mounds of garbage. Garbage that acted as the perfect kindling for the blaze.
That place had to
And
smell
that wasn't
horrible.
all. Remember, one of the main sticking points of the rebuild was the fact that the awnings that reached above the fans were made entirely of that old wood, meaning that you had heaps of kindling, tons of wood, and now a spark, with the final fatal factor being that it was a windy day. It was the perfect storm.
Well, it's England.
The
What do you
results
expect?
were devastating.
Quite astonishing scenes, and I've just seen the police leading a couple of people out of the ground.
At this point, like, here's the thing. I wouldn't care about like people getting on the pitch, you know, the field.
Everybody should be running across the pitch to the opposite side.
Exactly. Everyone needs to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Wow, 2 minutes?
Yeah, if I were at the front, like of the bleachers, I would have absolutely jumped onto the field to get away from that.
No doubt about it.
It took approximately 3 minutes for that small fire to engulf the entirety of the stands, as the black smoke billowed into the sky and the crowd desperately rushed to the field to get away from the heat.
And the whole place is scorching. They've been talking about having a new ground at Valley Parade. They might soon have to have one.
Yeah.
Because this is the day that Valley Parade Football Club, the football ground, is burning down.
The footage is highly disturbing, so much so that I can't show the entire thing. But during this time, however, a radio broadcast was on air, with the audio giving us a good idea of just how chaotic the scene was, and the moments when the blaze really erupted.
we're on fire here at Valley Parade. The whole end of the stand at one side is actually in flames now. I can see the orange of the flames. The game is actually stopped here at Valley Parade, and people are running around. They're running around beside us. They're running around all around us, and people are saying, get onto that pit.
The whole stand is on fire, Tony. It's an absolute, it's spreading quickly. There's going to be problems, Tony.
Let's get all those people out of there.
I was gonna say, it said unintelligible here, but I understood every word that he said.
There's gonna be problems, Tony.
Yeah, exactly.
All around us, and people are saying, get onto that pit.
The whole stand is on fire, Tony. It's an absolute, it's spreading quickly.
It's an absolute, it's spreading quickly.
Yeah.
He was trying to say it's an absolute travesty or tragedy, but he very quickly switched over to the next
There's going to be
sentence.
problems, Tony.
Let's get all those people out of there. Let's get those people. Just take your time. Don't rush. Don't push. Wait for the kiddies. People are coming round us. You can hear the heat. The smoke coming everywhere. We are going to have to disconnect very shortly because it really is flaming all the time. We're taking a break. We're getting out of here.
In the stands that day were approximately 6,000 people, and based on the footage, many of whom were able to run to safety very quickly, which gave a sense of hope that the ordeal might end in minimal casualties. Though there was another side of things. Those who chose not to run towards the field opted to go the opposite way, as there was an entrance and exit located directly behind the stands where the fire had started. And when the crowd managed to make their way to this exit, they were met with a disturbing revelation.
Oh crap.
The gates were shut.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's... That sucks, dude.
So that's the other thing I was thinking. It was like, if I was at the back, I probably would have just went towards like whatever the back exit to the place was.
Yeah.
I would have been with them and
basically
been stuck.
towards the vomitorium, like at the
By
back.
the time they went back the opposite direction, there was probably a wall of fire and smoke
3 minutes,
stopping
like,
them.
you got to think, dude. 2 to 3 minutes, the whole place is engulfed. You get back
Not to
there.
mention, you might not have been able to push back through everybody that was scrambling to get through you. You probably would get smashed into the gates if you were in front.
Exactly.
And those that were open or busted open were also blocked by slow-moving turnstiles, some of which being locked themselves. And as the crowd began pushing more and more to get through these turnstiles, it in turn led to a crush of humanity, with everyone piling on top of one another as the fire slowly consumed them.
Damn.
How many?
When the smoke cleared and the bodies were counted, 56 had tragically lost their life.
God dang, dude. 56.
While another 265 were left with serious injuries, with a tragedy leading to numerous new safety standards for soccer stadiums across the country, as Valley
hope
Parade's
so.
notoriously bad reputation had finally caught up with it on its very last day of operation, marking one of the deadliest days in the world of soccer, and one of the darkest moments in television history.
Bodies are being dragged away from that stand.
That recorded the man's actions as he was taping a special program.
Oh my God!
Oh my God!
Before we dive into our next case here, I want to first thank today's sponsor, Aura, for helping to make content like this financially viable. It seems that in this day and age of technology, there are people lurking around every corner looking to exploit you. And by far one of the most stressful examples of this is spam phone calls.
Every time he does one of these like regular things, like for an advertisement or whatever, I always keep being surprised because I forget how like regular he seems when he's doing this.
Yeah.
And how like spooky and like somber his voice gets when he's actually doing his narration.
He looks like a white KSMG.
I don't know who that is.
At internet, y'all know who I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm not saying like that's a bad thing. It's just the look, you know, the glasses, the combed over hair, the stubble and everything. Hold on.
He looks like a major league gaming coach to me.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. Yeah. Basically, it's the glasses and it's the glasses and the stubble. Basically, that's what makes me think about that. But yeah, those of you who don't know, this is KSMG, and he is, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying they're related, but they could be.
With me where I never even answer my phone unless I have their number saved. Data brokers are making an absolute fortune selling your information to these robocallers and a slew of other scammers around the web. But Aura can identify these data brokers and submit opt-out requests on your behalf, as they're actually legally required to remove your information if you ask them, but they obviously make it really hard and in some cases almost impossible. But don't worry, Aura has your back and they will do it for you. Which also extends to those spam emails as well, which has been an absolute
Still kind of want to look into
and their
that.
services extend far past this.
So if that's not just a scam, if they can actually do that, I kind of want that done, because my phone blocks like spam texts and shit, but it still tells me every time it does it, and it does it often.
You know, we made a video. Oh my god, that is, whoa,
It's fucking absurd, isn't it?
that is not, what the fuck, dude.
And they're all like shit, like, it's like, you need to vote for our candidate today or bad shit's gonna happen, like, from like the fucking presidential race and shit.
I block those.
I mean, they are blocked, but my phone still tells me when they come in for some reason.
So, okay, I just got this message on here, dude. We literally watched a video about the it was basically them doing like a funny reenactment of the Kennedy assassination. It was Smitty and them in GTA Online, and here's the thing. I did that, and there's a dude who's in there just like saying Oswald acted a lot. I'm like, dude, I do not care. I do not freaking care anymore.
This, as Aura will give you easy access to parental controls, an antivirus, a VPN, password management, identity theft
maybe if you want to
insurance,
take a
and
look,
much,
dude.
much more. They'll even scan the dark web for you to see if any of your information might be floating around out there. And in doing so, they can help by changing your stolen passwords for you, scrubbing data where possible, and offering a multitude of other solutions depending on your situation. Aura truly is your one-stop shop for safety and peace of mind on the internet. So you can either keep letting people exploit and profit off your private information, or you can go to aura.com/Nick Crowley for a free 2-week trial, which will also be linked right down below in the description. Alright, thank you guys, and back to the video.
Okay.
Hey kids and parents, get two parents. You remember when? Well, it's back again.
The world of television is no stranger to death-defying stunts. From the very beginning of broadcasting, viewers have been captivated by the sight of people risking their lives to pull off these seemingly impossible spectacles. But while most of these performances are done by trained professionals, perhaps one of the strangest television stunts ever performed was one done by a man with hardly any training at all. Adelir Antonio de Carli. Born in Pelotas, Brazil, Adelir felt a calling early in his life to dedicate himself to God. This eventually led to him becoming a Catholic priest, where he developed a deep connection with those in his community. To many, Adelir was considered a man of the people, someone who had a passion for religion and a goal to make it accessible to as many people as possible, which is where he developed the idea for his most infamous project. Near his home in Brazil was a popular port city named Paranagua, which saw the import and export of a vast array of goods, making it a central hub for truckers to drive to and from on a regular basis.
I'm just saying that
but
place
Adelir began to realize that
again.
Because some of the most fun missions were at like the ports and all that. Specifically, that one mission that people kept spamming to like make money and have experience and all that.
For these truckers, the vast majority of their lives were lived on the road, and this rarely, if ever, allowed them to practice their religion. This revelation inspired Adelir to start putting together plans to build a chapel at a trucker's rest stop right in Paranagua, which would allow for drivers to stop and worship while on the road. In theory, this seemed like a great idea, and one that the community could easily rally behind, though there was just one issue: the money. Building a chapel and maintaining it was not going to be cheap, and far exceeded what was possible with just his salary, making the whole thing seem like more of a dream than anything, unless he could somehow find a way to raise the funds, which is when he had the idea. He was going to create a public spectacle. one where he would attach himself to hundreds of helium-filled balloons and take off into the sky in a process known as balloon clustering. Believe it or not, this was actually a somewhat well-known stunt at the time, as popularized by a man named John Ninomiya, whose footage was shown on numerous television stations a few years prior in 2006. And perhaps having been inspired by this, Atelier viewed the stunt
You know what I
as the
can't help but think whenever I see that?
Up.
No.
What?
Please help. You can still reach me if you
Oh
try.
my god. Please help. You can still reach me if you try. Please, please.
We're sending them above to be judged. Show us what you got.
Opportunity to fund his chapel, with his plan being to break the world record of 19 hours in the air, and in doing so use the publicity to gather donations. But the only problem was, he had no experience whatsoever. He had gone skydiving numerous times before though, and he believed that his familiarity with that would help him to break the record in no time. And so, on January 13th, 2008, in the city of Umpere, Brazil, over 600 balloons were filled with helium and attached to a chair, which Atelier was then strapped to. He began to lift off the ground, quickly floating high in the sky, as the news cameras were there to film it all. The flight saw him travel roughly 17 miles and reach an altitude of 17,000 feet, highlighting just how dangerous of a stunt this really was.
Yeah.
But despite his lack of experience, after around 4 hours, he would touch down safely in Argentina, marking the end of his first successful flight. It was a promising start and inspired Atelier to continue planning and prepping for his next attempt, which he resoundingly told people would break the world record. In preparation for doing so, he took part in various jungle survival training exercises, and even took up mountain climbing, as he knew he would be flying over remote regions which left him at risk of being stranded somewhere in the wilderness.
Yeah.
To further aid in this, Atelier would also have a satellite phone and a GPS, which he would use in tandem to help track his location and call for assistance should things go awry. It seemed that Atelier was ready for anything. But on April 20th, 2008, as a crowd gathered around to see this man attempt this record, the weather began to take a turn for the worst. During his first flight, the skies were sunny and the winds were calm.
Here's the thing. This is God telling you to not do this.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Here's the thing. I heard this one story, and stop me if you've heard it, but there was this man who was at his house, and floodwaters started coming in, so he climbed up onto the roof of his house, and a man in a boat came.
This is about the guy that says, "Oh, God will save me," like 5 times.
Yeah, and then eventually,
And
like,
he dies, and it's like, "Why didn't you save me, God?"
And then God, basically God was just like, "I sent 2 boats, a cop, a helicopter. I sent everything to save you, but yet you wouldn't take the handout."
Mm-hmm.
Basically, yeah, it's basically God just telling you, "Don't be stupid." Please, don't be stupid. That's all.
But on this day, it was gloomy and the rain was falling hard off and on, putting the whole stunt in jeopardy.
Don't do
But
it.
Atelier remained confident, boasting that thanks to God, he would have
Of course
perfect
he
weather
did it,
when
or
he
he
was on
wouldn't
his
be on this
flight.
video.
Porque eu vou subir acima dela. 10 minutos eu ultrapasso ela. E depois vou voar sempre em tempo bom.
And despite some trying to convince him to push things back, he knew that the crowd was there for him. And this was his chance to secure funding for his dream project.
Com essa quantidade de balões, o padre deve viajar a cerca de 5.000 metros de altitude. Com ele lá em cima, vão estar ainda um telefone celular por satélite, GPS...
Chegando a Dourados, no Mato Grosso do Sul. O tempo estava
There we
fechado,
go.
mas o padre insistiu em voar.
Era 1 da tarde quando ele subiu, levado por 1000 balões de gás coloridos. Pretendia bater o recorde.
And with that, he was off, soaring quickly into the sky where he eventually disappeared into those thick rain clouds. For essentially all of his flight, those clouds made it practically impossible to see the man, which was further exasperated by the fact that this time he had used 1,000 balloons, as opposed to 600, which brought him to an even higher elevation, this time touching almost 20,000 feet. But just because he was out of sight, that didn't mean that we couldn't hear from him, as he would soon call down to a local news station to share a somewhat concerning update.
Aqui me ensina a operar esse GPS aqui para dar as coordenadas de latitude e longitude, que é a única forma que alguém opera.
Did it teach him how to operate the GPS ahead of time?
Dude. That's in terms of modern, like, GPS...
That's a goof. That's a huge goof.
Yeah. You did the jungle survival and everything. You wouldn't think, oh, here's how you operate a GPS. This is longitude. This is latitude. This is how you report it. Boom. There you go. You're saved.
Despite dedicating countless hours of training before the flight, there was one thing that Adelier had failed to prepare for: the GPS, as he was never shown how the device actually worked, and he only realized that he had no idea how to operate it once he was already at his peak altitude, meaning that he was essentially flying blind. The course he had set out on was set to see him travel 400 miles inland to a city named Dorados, and by his prior calculations, the wind should have still been taking him at the very least in that direction, which for a moment gave him a sense of calm, as he trusted the preparation even if he didn't know his exact coordinates. But after a few hours, as the moon began to rise, so too did the panic within Adelier, as he caught a glimpse of a strange sight on the horizon: the ocean. Somehow, the wind had done a complete 180 and had blown him in the exact opposite direction that he had prepared for, and before he knew it, he was flying directly over the sea, with no way of stopping himself or even slowing himself down, as he was now flying alone into pitch blackness. Adelier called his team and requested they send rescue, but there was no way to give his exact location, and by this point, he was already nearly 40 miles out to sea. After being just 8 hours into his 20-hour flight, the ground team would lose contact with Adelier after receiving a message from him begging for his rescue, and he would never be heard from again.
Damn.
Up, up, and away. A Catholic priest trying to break a record for most hours flying with helium-filled party balloons vanishes into thin air.
The subsequent search for Adelier was broadcast heavily all across the world, with the media dubbing him as the Balloon Priest, and after nearly 9 days of searching, the only sign of the man was his balloons. They were found detached and floating in the ocean, with there being no sign of the priest whatsoever, leaving his fate as a total mystery. At least at the time. On July 4th, 2008, a tugboat sailing off the coast of Mackay near an offshore oil rig would spot something floating in the water, and upon closer inspection, it would be identified as a body. Or at least part of one, given all that remained was the subject's lower half. And upon DNA testing, it was confirmed that it did in fact belong to Adelier Antonio de Carli, who likely crashed into the water and drowned, only to be picked away at by various predators of the ocean, thus ending the Balloon Priest's saga in a tragic, yet for many, unsurprising manner.
Damn.
That sucks.
That does suck, dude.
I was thinking he was going to get too high up and pass out from like lack of oxygen or something. But...
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of too, because that's something you don't mess with. Like, you go high enough in the altitude, air gets thin and you're basically screwed. God.
Night is the most dangerous time for pedestrians along streets and highways. To be on the safe side, walk facing traffic and wear light-colored clothing for quicker recognition by approaching drivers.
Uh-oh.
Now, once you get into a car with somebody, you're at their mercy.
If your car should become disabled, the rule of thumb is stay inside. There are signs you can get to put on the back window to summon for help.
It was the waning days of 1986. News station NBC7 San Diego records and broadcasts a PSA segment about safety on the roads, and specifically what to do if your car breaks down at night.
That looks so much like the road on the way to Asheville.
Oh yeah, it does.
Like if you're going from like is it Elizabeth?
Not
Elizabeth, but the place I practiced, Irwin. Like from Irwin over to Asheville.
Mm-hmm. Random topic, but for residents of San Diego, fears were rising over just how safe their highways were, as just a few days prior, a 20-year-old college student named Kara Knott had gone missing, only for her car to be found pulled over onto the shoulder of a tall bridge, where underneath, police would find her body, having been strangled brutally and tossed over the side to the ground below.
Damn.
Understandably, residents were concerned, with many assuming that she had ran into car troubles and likely exited her vehicle to get help, only to be kidnapped and killed by a nearby motorist. And due to this, NBC7 thought the segment would be effective in educating those out there, in the hopes of avoiding another situation like Kara's, especially considering at this point, her killer was still somewhere out there. For the video, they even had a highway patrol officer come out to share his tips.
Being a female, you could be raped, robbed if you're a male, all the way to where you could be killed. Once you get in that other person's car, you're at their mercy.
As well as a man whose car had broken down when they were filming.
Do you realize how dangerous it is?
Yes, I realize. In fact, I was putting the gas in, and an 18-wheeler came by and almost blew me away.
Overall, the segment appeared relatively harmless, with the main messaging being to contact authorities and wait for their assistance rather than trusting a stranger. But still, this did little to calm the public's nerves, as paranoia rippled through the community, and speculation began to run rampant on who was responsible for Kara's death, which is when disturbing allegations began to emerge. Following this report, 24 separate women would come forward to share their bizarre encounters that they had had on that very same road in which Kara was found. The girls claim that they were pulled over by a police officer who interrogated them in their cars for upwards of 2 hours. And the questions being asked during this weren't even relevant to the alleged violations they had committed.
Oh no, don't tell me.
Was it the same cop from the freaking PSA?
Oh my god.
Instead, they were more personal, sometimes even sexual, as if the man was trying to seduce them. And it got stranger from there, as when looking into that cop's work record, it was discovered that he was on patrol the night in which Kara had gone missing, and he just so happened to be working that very same stretch of highway. And making things even more concerning was the fact that underneath Kara's fingernails were traces of what appeared to be fabric that matched the material used to make police uniforms. And hidden in the officer's trunk was heavy rope, with it eventually being revealed that Kara had rope marks around her neck, implying that that's how she was killed. But what does make these accounts so important and so relevant to the topic at hand was the fact that the officer being named by every single one of these women was a man named Craig Allen Pyre.
Spotting pedestrians at night is difficult, particularly.
Now, once you get into a car with somebody,
that same
you're at
dude.
their mercy.
Because if you do decide to walk, the CHP says you never know who you may meet along the road.
Anything could happen.
There he is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
That's fucked.
The very same officer that was shown in the local news report. It would eventually be revealed that on December 27th, 1986, Craig Allen Pyre pulled over Kara Knott, flirted with her, raped her, strangled her, and then threw her body off a bridge. Only 2 days later appear on this PSA and try and teach the public how to avoid being kidnapped and killed alongside of the highway.
All the way to where you could be killed. Once you get in that other person's car, you're at their mercy.
If strangers should offer assistance, tell them to call police or the CHP.
Just stay in the vehicle, lock all the doors, turn on the emergency flashers, and wait for help to come.
He's probably thinking
It's
something
so
along the lines of
incredibly
what
haunting
better
to
way to
watch
throw
this segment
suspicion
back,
off of him
especially-
than to act like he was concerned about this situation that he caused.
Yeah. Jeez, man.
What a piece of shit.
Complete and total piece of shit.
Especially considering what he's saying, knowing that he was quite literally the cause of the crime that inspired the segment to begin with. Just 2 weeks
I
after
guarantee you, in his mind, he thought that he wasn't going to get caught, and that the fact that they asked him to do that and he did it, he probably got off on that kind of shit.
Probably.
He probably got off on the idea of the fact that I'm hiding in plain sight.
You know what's interesting about this? I had no prior knowledge to the situation, and you can choose not to believe me if you want to, but I swear, like, I was having this thought. I should have said it out loud when I had it, but when he first played his voice clip before we knew anything about this situation, and he said, when you get in someone else's car, you're at their mercy, something about that, I was just like, I don't like the way that person just said that. And then I found out it was the cop saying it, and I was like, oh, it's in that context, so it wasn't creepy. But it sounded fucking creepy to hear him say it out of context. And come to find out, I was 100% right with having a revulsion to him saying that.
Yeah.
Like, because
You
he was
were.
being fucking creepy, probably.
No doubt.
It's like he was saying this shit in like a way that he was just like, I know that I'm getting away with this.
Yeah. And according
It's
to him,
like the
he
people
was.
are at my mercy when they get in my car, and I get to tell them to get in my car, and they're at my mercy, and that's probably the kind of sick shit he was thinking the whole time.
Yeah.
Program aired, Officer Craig Pyre would be arrested for the murder of Kara Knott, where he was eventually sentenced 25 years to life in prison.
Bye-bye, asshole. Have fun getting Have fun getting reamed into oblivion.
Hope so.
You deserve it.
I hope he doesn't get out and they're renew his sentence when it's over.
Niagara Falls, Ontario.
Actually, it would have been over recently if it was 25 years.
Yeah.
No, wait, it was 2000. No.
That was 19.
Yeah, it was back 86 when they said whenever this went down.
Yeah.
So
25 to life, though. I mean, hopefully he got all life.
Yeah, hopefully he's still in there.
Yeah, or he's dead.
Yeah.
Just fuck him. But Niagara Falls, I have been there. Niagara Falls is beautiful. It's Niagara Falls and Horseshoe Falls. Niagara Falls is absolutely just majestic, and it makes you, because here's the thing, when you walk around behind it and you see just the torrent of water that's going down, it literally makes you feel like this big. It literally makes you feel like a microcosm because of just how powerful this is. It's terrifying, dude. I love it.
One of the most famous natural spectacles in the world.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Oh boy.
Considered one of the most visually stunning locations in the United States, and even across the world, the three waterfalls that make up Niagara Falls offer a unique blend of beauty and violence, making it no wonder why tens of thousands of people visit the area every day just to take in the awe-inspiring views and that unbelievable rush of water. But on March 20th, 2003, as a typical crowd gathered to take their photos, their attention was captured by something far different than the scenery. Something that couldn't have been possible. It looked like a man in the water. Though he wasn't being swept over and he wasn't moving at all, he was just standing there, at the very edge of the falls, staring off into oblivion. Police were immediately called to the scene as a panic arose, and within minutes, rescue crews would begin their work, along with a cameraman from a local news station.
What the heck?
Oh my God.
How could you be standing there without getting swept off of it?
I don't know, dude. Like, that's the thing. Like, some people can find their footing in, as long as the water's shallow enough and the torrent isn't that heavy, especially near the edge, because he's right at the edge right there, and it's nowhere near as swift there as it would be, like, in the middle. Because if he was in the middle of the falls, like, not a snowball's chance in hell he'd be standing right now.
Still feel like you'd have to be pushing back against it the entire time.
Jesus.
The footage shows what should have been an impossible scenario, as an unnamed 48-year-old man was standing at the edge of the most powerful waterfall on the planet, somehow staying balanced and remaining fully calm, despite being just 1 foot away from dropping over 180 feet to certain death. Unsure of how the man had ended up in the water, or how it was even possible for him to stay upright, rescue workers sprang into action with two men, Pop Moriarty and Gary Carella, sliding into the water and attempting to walk towards him. But even for them, the current was just too much, forcing them to almost immediately turn back, while the man yelled to them that he was losing his strength and to not let him go over. To aid in the rescue, a helicopter was sent in to try and airlift the man up, but immediately the force of the rotors began to create strong gusts of wind, leading to this.
Oh no.
Oh, crap.
Oh God, no. No. No, 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 no. Don't do it! Don't do it! Oh God, oh God!
Now the man lay there, feet dangling over the edge of the falls, as the freezing cold water pelted him relentlessly. By this point, that man had already been in the water for over 1 hour, and his grip was slowly slipping. And so, in a last-ditch prayer, a rescue worker inside the helicopter decided to toss a life preserver, knowing that this would likely be their final shot at saving him. And miraculously, the current caught it and brought it directly to him. With every bit of strength he had left, the man would let go of the rock he was clinging to and lunge towards the preserver, grabbing a hold of it as crews on shore began to pull him to safety. Or at least, they thought. As he was being towed to shore, the man approached what looked to be land, though in actuality this was
an ice shelf
that extended out over the water, meaning that the black line you see here isn't actually land, but instead a small opening between the sheet of ice and the water itself. And within that small opening, the rapids were raging at tenfold due to the increased pressure of the small size. And so while the man was being pulled towards rescue workers, he was almost immediately sucked underneath, pinning him in an immovable situation. Moriarty and Corella knew that they had to engage once again, or else the man was certainly going to drown, with their testimony later on showing just how dire the situation had become.
Just told us, let me go. He just gave up. He said, save yourselves, let me go, let me go.
But the rescue crews had come too far to just give up, and despite the pressure of the water becoming almost too much to bear, Corella slipped a harness around the man and gave the signal for the group to be lifted up.
They got him. Oh, thank God.
Somehow, they had all done the impossible, and with the victim now on solid ground, he was taken to a nearby hospital where, despite suffering from severe hypothermia, he would go on to survive, making it one of the most incredible rescues ever shown on television.
Probably one of the closest calls of all time, too.
I swear, man, that just...
I thought he was actually going to end up going over.
Me too. Like, that was, like, as soon as I saw him, like, fall down, I'm like, that's it. He's going to, like, teeter towards the edge and just go off. And he didn't. Holy crap, dude.
But with the victim now safe, it was time to figure out what exactly had happened. Well,
How
apparently...
did he end up there?
I don't know.
Man had lost all of his money due to a crippling gambling addiction, even gambling away the last of his family's own cash, losing everything and everyone in the process. And he entered the water that day, hoping to make it his last. But as he drifted towards the edge, he suddenly had a change of heart and decided to fight for survival. And somehow, when trying to stop himself, his foot became lodged in between two rocks, which also aided in shielding him from the rushing current.
So that's how he was able to stay up.
Allowing him not only to stay there, but to stand upright. It's unknown what happened to the man from here, as he's understandably never been named publicly, but I do hope he managed to find some peace and purpose, as his story is one of very few of this nature with a happy ending, especially within Niagara Falls, as the area has become a hotspot for attempts just like this, the vast majority of which sadly end successfully. And as it turns out, one such example of this was captured when the cameras happened to be rolling.
Frazier that recorded the man's actions as he was taping a special program with Phil Kavitz. It is Phil's voice you will hear on the tape.
Factories, hotels, and other buildings line the river.
As TV host Phil Kavitz is recording a program for the local nightly news in Buffalo, New York, he did so near the mouth of Niagara Falls, where the rapids are raging in a particularly fearsome manner. When suddenly...
Buildings line the river. Then Frederick Olmsted started a campaign to persuade...
Oh no.
We see a man come running from the brush and leap directly into the water. For obvious reasons, I can't show what happens next, as the water begins to sweep the man towards the edge of the falls. But the audio alone is sufficient in showing just how traumatic the moment was for the news crews watching on.
Factories, hotels, and other buildings line the river. Then Frederick Olmsted started a campaign to persuade New York to buy the land.
Oh my God!
Holy! Oh my God!
Oh my!
Oh!
As they
what is your reaction supposed to be to that?
Yeah.
Watched in horror, the man
It's
was
one of the
dragged
only
to the
instances where you can probably get away with cursing on air without getting fired.
Well,
once people find out why, it'd be like, well, that was understandable.
Yeah, I mean, look, you may get. Here's the thing: if the FCC comes and not, here's the thing: if I'm the head of that news station and the FCC comes and says, "Well, he violated standards by saying that word on the air," it's like, here's what I would do: I would reach into my pocket and I would literally write them a check and say, and on the for thing at the bottom, I would write to the at the FCC. There. Now leave us alone. This man just witnessed something horrible. You are not needed here.
The commission.
Oh, God.
The edge, and then swept directly off, going over head first and standing no chance of survival.
Yeah.
According to the report, the man was never identified, and his body was never found, likely having been pinned by the impossible force of the water at the bottom.
Yeah.
But what I find most chilling about this video is the fact that it's only seemingly been archived in this poor quality, which makes deciphering details about it incredibly difficult. However, there were many who watched the program on TV the day after, as the news station actually aired this footage for the world to see, and one particular account has haunted me since the moment I first read it. I remember seeing this when it was first broadcast. Freaked me the hell out. It wasn't a worn-out videotape back then, and the image was a lot cleaner. The guy looked at the news crew and into the camera when they started yelling. Creepy and sad as hell. Despite being known for its beauty, there is a dark side to this amazing location, and one that has become, and likely will remain, no stranger to the world of television.
Well,
wasn't there like a whole stunt back in the day where people would go over waterfalls in a barrel?
Yes. No, that's still a thing.
That's why I do Niagara Falls that way.
Yeah, that's actually a real thing. People still do that shit. But yeah. Whew. That was a bit much. Yeah. So yeah,
this wasn't quite as bad as the previous three. At least,
no, it was pretty bad though.
Still
in certain
sad.
regards. Still very sad. Yeah. But all right, this. You see, stuff like this always puts me in a dour mood. I'm just like, ugh. I feel icky for a little bit afterwards. I'm just like, ugh. But this one, while pretty bad in certain regards, by no means as bad as the last one. Still, though,
I felt most sad about the people at the soccer thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean...
It's like, that fucking sucks.
Well, you go there to, for a fun day at the park, and then all of a sudden just... And, you see... I know that...
I'm just thinking about how preventable that situation was. Like, why would they ever let it get so bad there, you know?
Well,
like,
I
why
don't
would
know.
people keep coming to your stadium when you have literal, like, trash just lining the underside of the bleachers that had to smell?
It's because of their dedication, dude. It's like Wrexham. Here's the thing.
If I was that dedicated to a sport, I would have volunteered to come clean out the fucking trash from under the bleachers so I could actually watch the sport without it being horrible.
I agree. I would do the same. Hell, like it's like Welcome to Wrexham. You know, I've watched all of Welcome to Wrexham, and here's what I'll say: Ryan and Rob have done a tremendous job, basically turning Wrexham around. And now that I think they're in the Premier League now, which is actually awesome. And but the fact that what Wrexham had versus what Wrexham has now, it is literally night and day. And basically, the dedication that the people of Wrexham had to their club, I can see why people like the people in the Valley Parade Stadium in Bradford basically like were dedicated, because in some cases, in a lot of cases in terms of sports, that's all they've ever known. That's all they want to know, because they're so invested in their local sports that they can't think to do anything else. And the football system that they have in the UK, I think, is really, really good. I think it's actually awesome what they have.
It's also good that at least that situation apparently led to like regulations for safety measures.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So hopefully something like that will never happen again in the future over there.
One can only hope, dude. Anyway, so yeah, this was pretty dark, but could have been a lot worse. And hopefully y'all will have us react to more Nick Crowley. Although, just know that these videos do put us in a bit of a mood. And I guess that's gonna do it for this. So until next time, I'm Nate.
I am Nick.
Y'all be good people. Take care. Peace.